When Claire handed that small plate of fries to the shivering little boy sitting outside the diner, she didn't know it would cost her job. She didn't know her kind act would make her cry in the rain that night, humiliated and broke. But she also didn't know that one day, the same boy's father would walk back through those glass doors, holding a letter that would change her life forever. This is the story of how one act of kindness, born out of hunger and heartbreak, turned a poor waitress into the woman everyone would one day thank. Claire Dawson had worked at Sunnyside Diner for nearly 4 years. It wasn't her dream job, but it paid the bills and helped her care for her sick mother at home. Every morning she tied her hair into a neat ponytail, pinned on her name tag, and practiced her smile in the mirror. A smile that often hid exhaustion, fear, and the constant worry of how she'd afford her mother's next medication refill. The diner was always busy, especially on weekends. Claire had learned to move fast, memorize orders, and stay polite even when customers were rude. Her manager, Ms. Rhodes, was the kind who measured smiles and counted tips like she owned them. "You're lucky to have this job, Claire," she often reminded her. And Claire nodded every time, biting her tongue. That day was particularly cold. The kind of biting winter that makes every breath sting. Claire arrived early, wiped down tables, and began her shift. Around lunchtime, she noticed a little boy outside the diner window. He couldn't have been more than 7, thin, trembling, and holding a small backpack to his chest. His face was pale, lips cracked, and his eyes were fixed on the steaming plates being served inside. Claire's heart clenched. She had seen poverty before, but something about the boy's eyes, lost yet quietly brave, struck her deeply. When she went outside to take the trash out, she approached him gently. "Hey, sweetheart," she said softly. "You okay? You've been sitting here a while." The boy looked up, startled. "I'm just waiting," he whispered. "My dad went to look for work. He said he'll be back soon." "When did he leave?" she asked. The boy looked down. "Yesterday." Claire's breath caught. Yesterday? That meant he hadn't eaten in over a day. His small hands clutched his backpack tighter, and she saw tears forming in his eyes. "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers," he said, "but I'm really hungry." She didn't think twice. Claire went inside, quickly fixed up a small plate, a sandwich, fries, and a cup of warm chocolate milk, and carried it out to him. The boy's eyes widened. "But I don't have money," he said shyly. "You don't need it," she smiled. "Eat, please." He hesitated, then began to eat slowly, as if afraid the food would disappear. Watching him broke something inside her. A reminder of her own childhood when her mom had sometimes gone hungry so she could eat. But just as she turned back toward the door, Ms. Rhodes was standing there, arms crossed, eyes sharp as knives. "What is this?" Ms. Rhodes snapped. "Are we running a charity now?" Claire froze. "He's just a child, ma'am. He hasn't eaten in." "I don't care," Ms. Rhodes interrupted. "You gave away food that wasn't yours to give. You think this diner runs on your pity." "Please," Claire pleaded. "I'll pay for it from my tips." "You won't have tips after today," Ms. Rhodes barked. "You're fired. Clean out your locker." For a moment Claire couldn't breathe. Fired? Over a plate of fries? She tried to explain again, but Ms. Rhodes turned her back and walked inside. Customers had started watching, whispering. Claire's cheeks burned with shame. She looked at the boy, who had stopped eating, frightened. "It's okay," she forced a small smile. "Finish your food, okay?" He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he said. "You helped me and now you're in trouble." Claire bent down and touched his shoulder. "Don't ever be sorry for being hungry," she said softly. "You didn't do anything wrong." She left the diner that day holding her small purse and her apron. Her only job gone, her last hope shattered. That night, as she sat beside her mother's bed, she didn't tell her what happened. She just smiled weakly and said, "Everything's fine, Mom." But when her mother fell asleep, Claire cried quietly, staring at the bills piled on the table. Days passed. Claire searched for new work. Laundry shops, cleaning jobs, anything, but no one was hiring. One afternoon she sat on a park bench, tired and cold, when she heard a voice behind her. "Excuse me. Are you the lady from Sunnyside Diner?" She turned. Standing there was a tall man in a long coat, holding a child's hand. The boy's face lit up. "That's her, Daddy. That's the lady who gave me food. Claire blinked, confused. You're his father? The man nodded, stepping closer. Yes. I went to a construction site to ask for work, but they told me to come back the next morning. When I returned for my son, he told me what you did. His voice trembled slightly. You fed him when no one else even looked at him. Claire smiled faintly. I just did what anyone would do. Not everyone would, the man said softly. Most people walked past him like he was invisible. He looked at her, really looked, and saw the tired lines on her face, the worn-out clothes, and the kindness that still lingered in her eyes despite everything. You're the reason my son smiled again, he said. But I heard you lost your job because of it? Claire nodded slowly. It's okay. I'll find something else. The man looked torn between guilt and gratitude. Then he said, My name's Ethan Cole. I'm not just a construction worker. I own a few construction companies around the state. I was visiting one of my smaller sites disguised as a regular worker to see how things were run. My car broke down that night and I lost my phone. That's why my boy waited so long. Claire's eyes widened. You're a company owner? Ethan nodded. And I owe you more than you realize. He looked down at his son. When his mother passed away last year, my boy stopped talking for months. That day when he told me how you helped him, it was the first time I'd seen him truly speak again. Claire's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. Ethan continued. You lost your job because of kindness. That's not how the world should be. I can't undo what happened, but maybe I can make it right. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a check and a letter. The letter read, People like you remind us that kindness still exists. My company, Cole Developments, would be honored to have you as part of our community outreach division. A new project helping single mothers and families in need. You don't owe me anything, Claire. The world simply needs more people like you. Claire's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Ethan smiled. Just keep being who you are. Later that evening, Claire walked past Sunnyside Diner. Through the window, she saw Ms. Rhodes arguing with a customer. But instead of feeling anger, Claire felt peace. She turned the letter over in her hand and smiled to herself. Weeks later, she began her new job, helping families find food, shelter, and dignity. Her mother's health improved, and for the first time in years, Claire didn't have to fake her smile. And every month a small boy named Oliver would visit her office, holding a tiny box of fries saying, These are for you, Miss Claire. Because sometimes a single act of kindness doesn't just feed a hungry child, it feeds the world.